Thank you, Andrea. I think I know why, though.
I bet that's why. Da-da-da-da. Look at that. Now we're both talking.
Hello? Are we both talking?
It's so nice to see you, Chris. How
Hi,
are you?
Angela. What's happening?
I feel like I mostly see you when we begin hosting this show, but it's always such a nice time.
This is my friend Angela.
Hi.
This is my friend Chris. And this is Story Time at the Apes Nest. Who in this room that I can't see because of these very professional lights has no idea what's happening here?
Everybody knows what's happening. Oh,
Wow.
One person doesn't know.
I almost feel like we shouldn't bother doing this.
You're in for a treat. Whether you know or not, this is going to be a good time. What we do is a bunch of people have written original sci-fi stories that are weird and gross and maybe don't make sense. And they're going to come up here and read them. And then musicians who are totally different human beings are going to make up the sound effects that go with those stories, even though they haven't read them yet.
Correct. There is no prior collaboration or planning. Also, it's not strictly sci-fi. Like, as long as it's going to freak your noodle, that's what I'm into. I will point out that this is also available as a podcast. We've got stuff that's done in studio, my house, sometimes recorded live, and we've got returning guests, we've got total noobs, we've got you guys. But if you go to apesnest.com, you can find out about the podcast and our next show. It's also on Stitcher and iTunes. I've got a bunch of stickers in my pocket.
I was just about to bring up all your stickers.
I've got a big puck of stickers. Like, if you think this is like a really tall can of chewing tobacco, it's just stickers next to my ass.
He'll give them to you.
Shall we bring up
Our first round of folks?
Yeah, let's do
Let's do that. Let's do that. You guys ready to get started? Excellent. Excellent. I am ready for you to be freaked out. I think it's going to be a really fun time. I'm so glad, Andrea, thanks so much for having us. This is a perfect spot for us all to be like on Pretend Acid together.
I feel like Shelley Duvall up here.
It's good. It's good. Why don't you tell us about our first reader?
Our first reader is a cornerstone of this show. He is a member of the band Death Shepherd, who's kind of been the Doc Severinsen of this show. That's the house band for the Johnny Carson show, for those of you who are horrifically young. And he's going to be reading a really bonkers piece of work. And performing with him, what
is Michael Rosenstein. Michael Rosenstein is a guy who I met working in record stores maybe 20-odd years ago. And he spent most of his life as a jazz critic. And then all of a sudden, he decided to start building his own instruments and making horrific noises with them for everyone's enjoyment.
That's nothing like jazz.
Oh, you don't know jazz, sir.
You don't know sarcasm, man.
Michael runs a place called the Washington Street Arts Center. It's near Union Square in Somerville/Cambridge, whatever that place is.
There.
Yeah, it's a good spot. Go there sometime. And I'm pretty excited for what these people are about to do to you.
So let's welcome Aaron and Michael.
Yeah.
Hi. So this is a little tricky. My story is in the format of a choose-your-own-adventure story. And so I think the way it's going to work, despite these lights, is that when we come to a fork in the road, when there's a decision to be made, I'm going to be going through some of the front row of the audience, and they will be making our decisions for us. So, Mac, I hope you're ready, because you're up first. Okay. You are jostled out of the book you are reading by a sight and a sound. The flash is bright enough to fully illuminate your cabin. Something has exploded in the woods. There's a glow of fire coming from somewhere below the tops of the spruce, and a thin trail of smoke barely visible under the stars. You hoped it wasn't a forest fire. That'd be just your luck. First night hiding out in the woods, driven out by some act of God forest fire bullshit. But if something had exploded, it couldn't have been too loud. Or maybe it was very far away, because the only sound you heard was the shredded guitar that constitutes the opening of Eddie Van Halen's epic guitar solo, Eruption. It's coming from your cell phone. This means your cell phone is ringing. You'd forgotten that you'd set that as the ringtone. You'd had to get a new phone as part of your erasing your old identity. Checking your new phone, you confirm that it's Alan. It basically had to be Alan, because he was the only person who knew your number. He was the only person you knew on this side of the country. You'd met him once, 3 days ago, on your way up to the cabin. Alan runs a bait and tackle store about an hour away. Also an aspiring sculptor. He's your closest neighbor by a long shot. When you'd met him 3 days ago, stopping to make sure you were still on Oregon State Road 372, he'd been friendly, but seemed a bit too caffeinated. Scraggly blonde hair, 40-something, wiry guy. He had the look like maybe he'd seen or done some bad things in his life. You'd been a little reluctant to trade phone numbers, but figured it was prudent. You weren't sure how this living alone in the woods life was going to work out. He lived in the back of his store. You can't imagine he had a lot of customers. You stare out of the window as you answer your phone, keeping an eye on the distant flickering light in the woods. Hello, you say. Alan? Hey! I'm really sorry to call you this late at night, but I am really in a pickle. I managed to lock myself out of my own damn store. I am sorry to call. So sorry. I really am. See, I think I figured out a way to get in, but I need a boost. There's a window, and I need a boost up. And a flashlight, if you've got one. Maybe you got something I could stand on, like some milk crates or cinder blocks or something. I would really appreciate it. It is a cold night for sleeping in the truck. He still had that shakiness in his voice. You ask him if he saw the flash of light. Nah, he says, nothing. He'd really appreciate it, though, if you could come lend him a hand, because the only blanket he has is in the car. It's thin, smells like bear repellent. Do you choose to investigate the fire in the woods, or to go lend Alan a hand? Alan it is. Alan was a weird dude, but hey, you're pretty weird, and he didn't seem actually dangerous. There are plenty of totally fine reasons people end up living most of their lives alone in the woods. Maybe they had some kind of psychological issues that made being around other people difficult. Maybe running a bait and tackle store 25 miles from the nearest fishing spot somehow worked for them. Maybe that was their optimal place in the universe. Or, maybe they got into trouble trying to farm psychedelic mushrooms on logs in the Boston area community garden and had to leave town and move to a cabin in the woods. It didn't matter. You're not the judgy type. But you are a helpful type. So you told Alan you'd be by in a bit. You throw on a jacket, grab a flashlight and a milk crate, which happens to be your only furniture, and head out. The car ride to Alan's was real dark. There's no paved roads out here, let alone streetlights, so it was bumpy and maybe a little creepy. You pushed the creepiness aside with the help of a nerve-easing joint you'd brought just in case, which you sparked up before you got out of the driveway. You didn't need GPS, which is good because there wasn't any, and there also wasn't any wrong turns to take. There's only one road for miles and miles. Every once in a while, in your peripheral vision, you notice the flickering light, in a direction you guess might be north. The light you saw from the cabin. You hope it isn't a forest fire. The turn off of the road to the bait and tackle store is signified by a large abstract sculpture made out of scrap metal and a hand-painted sign that reads, Alan's Bait and Tackle. You had to admit, the sculpture had something to it. Was it beautiful? No, you wouldn't call it beautiful, but it had something compelling going on. You couldn't put your finger on it. An angle or something, some twist in the metal reflecting an arc of moonlight across the hood of your truck. You're not an artist yourself, but you have always had great respect for artists. It seems Alan is an artist, which might explain his reclusive behavior. You are pleased you decided to give him a hand. You are a good person. As your truck pulls up, you hear him calling from behind the store. Thank God you're here. You're really saving my ass. You bring the milk crate and flashlight around back to find Alan clambering out of his truck, which he apparently pulled around behind the store. He takes your milk crate and positions it under a window, babbling the whole time about how you are a real help, and he hopes he can make it up to you, and it sure is cold, and you should come in and get a cup of coffee before heading back. Or you can stay over if you want. And man, you are really saving his ass. And how could he be so stupid to lock himself out of his own store, and you're kind of regretting coming to help him out, but you're also feeling a little stoned, and the dark woods are full of shuffling and creaking and twig-breaking sounds that are starting to creep you out. Alan uses a branch to pop open his window, and with surprising agility hauls himself up and through it. You hear a thud and a muffled, "Oh, I'm all right. Come around front and I'll get you that coffee. It's the least I can do." Coffee sounds good, but you're also a little concerned that the light in the woods you saw was a forest fire, which might come and burn down your cabin. Do you go inside for coffee or hop back in your truck? We're going inside for coffee. Give me a second. One more second. It's super cold outside, and you're going to need some caffeine if you're going to drive home without crashing into a tree or something. You holler to Alan that you'll take him up on his offer as you walk around to the front door. "Great!" he yells from inside. "Let me turn on some goddamn lights." After some more fumbling around, lights come on and you hear him unlock the front door. "Come on in. Come on into the back and I'll get you that coffee going. Do I owe you or what? I can't thank you enough. You ever need any bait or fishing stuff, you just let me know." He leads you through the front of the sparsely stocked store and through a door to the back where there's a makeshift bedroom. There is a smell. You can see the window he climbed through, now closed, a nasty-looking futon in the corner, an old TV with the rabbit ears in the foot of the futon, and various survivalist and porn magazines strewn about the place. The other side of the room has a counter with a sink and a plug-in tabletop electric burner. There's a microwave, some dirty bowls, many cans of Hormel all-beef chili, and several economy-sized bags of egg noodles. On a separate, smaller, fold-out table lie a large number of mushrooms that look like Alan may have foraged himself. No packaging, and they didn't look like button mushrooms or any other kind of mushroom you had experience with. As an amateur mycologist, you are intrigued. Alan notices you checking on the mushrooms. "You like mushrooms? Great mushrooms in this neck of the woods. All kinds of mushrooms." He winks. He shoves a bunch of magazines out of the way and pulls out some books. All the Rain That Promises and More, A Pocket Guide to Western Mushrooms by David Aurora. Growing Gourmet and Medicinal Mushrooms by Paul Stanek. You're not totally surprised that Alan is a mushroom enthusiast. When you dipped your toes in the psilocybin world, you've met a few dudes like him, invariably bearded, reverent when discussing fungus, either twitchy like Alan or kind of stoned and sloth-like. They were usually patiently condescending to people who just wanted to get high, like you. "Oh yeah, I even got some special logs going downstairs," Alan says with evident pride. He gestures to a panel on the floor. "Coffee maker's out front," Alan says. "I'll be right back." You wait a while. You're starting to feel exhausted, and Alan is taking his sweet time out front. Do you go out and check on Alan, or peek into his mushroom basement? We're going to check on Alan. Give me a second. The check on Alan page is not in the book. You find yourself peeking into his mushroom basement. He basically invited you to look at his logs, and you weren't sure, but you thought he might have been hinting that he had his favorite kind down there, the drug kind. You lift the panel out of the floor. A whoosh of dust billows out, and the musty smell of dirt and mushrooms hits your nose. It's a very heady smell. It is really something. Oh dear. The next thing you know, you're lying flat on the floor. As your consciousness drifts away, you can feel someone heaving you up over their shoulder. Alan, you mumble. When your eyes open, you are seated in a chair, hands and feet bound with damp, itchy twine. The mushroom basement is closed. You're not sure how much time has passed, but the coffee still smells fresh. Alan's voice. He isn't talking to you. Yep, good to go. All tied up in the back. Now you remember our agreement? Not just the money, right? What's my rule? I want to hear you say it, Mr. Sherman. That's right. No goddamn violence of any kind. Oh, fuck. He said Mr. Sherman. The Sherman brothers. The Sherman brothers were the ones who had convinced you to plant psychedelic mushrooms in a community garden in Somerville. And now they have tracked you down. You're not sure how you fucked it up, but fucked it up you did. No surprise there. You fuck up. You gotta talk Alan out of it. You gotta talk Alan into letting you go. You hear him hang up the phone. Alan, you scream, unable to hide the panic in your voice. Alan, you have to let me go. They're going to kill me. I owe them a lot of money, and they are going to kill me. Let me go, and I swear to God, I will pay you more. I will make it up to you. Alan walks into the room, nibbling on a white speckled mushroom, a beatific smile on his rat-like visage. Nah, says Alan, you shouldn't worry. We've got this. It's a big night for us. For you and I, for your friends who are coming, for everyone. They are not my friends. They're gonna kill me. You begin to shake the chair, banging the legs on the floor. It's at this point you realize you might not be able to bust this thin. You might just be able to bust this twine. Calm down, friend. I'm sorry I had to play that little ruse with locking myself out and all. Listen, how about I get you some of that coffee and I'll tell you how things are gonna happen tonight. He puts a mug of coffee under your nose, the thin coffee stirrer to use as a straw. Do you drink the coffee, or do you bust the twine? You try to bust the twine, but despite what you thought, you can't, because the author hasn't written this fork yet. Exhausted, you accept the coffee. You sip carefully through the thin straw. The coffee is hot, weak, and delicious. The aftertaste has an odd, musky flavor. That is a strange flavor. You realize, of course, it's drugged. Don't kill me, you say to Alan, already slim. Don't let them kill me. I'm just trying to be a good person. You awake with a start. Alan is waving a sharp-smelling something under your nose. Things have changed. Across from you, tied to two other chairs, sit the Sherman brothers. Those handsome motherfuckers. Even all dressed up, fancy suits all disheveled, hair tousled in an almost post-coital way. They look good. You wonder how Alan overpowered them. Alan is grinning in your face. He's shaking like he's had a lot of coffee. More likely mushrooms. This is it! The best day of our lives! You three are lucky, let me tell you. This is gonna be something, my friends. He's futzing around on his work table. He keeps talking. You find it hard to concentrate on his words. Did Alan dose you? You sure feel weird. You know that you should be worried, but you're not. You're filled instead with an odd optimism. The emotions you are feeling do not match being tied to a metal fold-out chair in a strange man's bait and tackle shop, sitting across from two psychos who want to kill you. Sexy psychos, but psychos nonetheless. Your rational brain reports in. You are tripping on mushrooms. You are vibing off of Alan's excitement and your residual sexual attraction to the Sherman boys. These good vibes do not mean you are not in a really bad situation. And yet, here you are, feeling pretty damn good. Your instincts, well, they might not match the situation, but you really feel like maybe this time they're right. This strikes you as the most hilarious thought that anyone has ever thought. After all, your instincts have got you this far. What instincts? Thanks, instincts, you're great. Alan gives you a benevolent glance as you cackle like a maniac. Hey, he says, a glint in his eye. Check this out. He pulls a dust mask over his face and opens the trap door to his special mushroom lodge. You can see a swirl of mushroom spore poof out as Alan's skinny arms disappear under the floorboards. You have a feeling this is going to be a treat. Hey, baby, Alan is saying. Not to you. Hey, baby, tonight's the night. No more little mice and rabbits for you. Our night has come. There is a sickly, wet sucking sound, followed by a pop, like a tooth being pried out of gums. Alan turns and presents it to you. Dripping in his hands sits a glistening, wet brain, but bigger, the size of a whole human head. Far fucking out. No, actually, it's not a brain. It's a mushroom, shiny with brown ooze. I know what you're thinking, Alan says, a momentary change in his demeanor. Gyromitra esculenta, right? Kinda looks like one, but does Gyromitra esculenta do this? He walks over to one of the sleeping Sherman brothers. You think it's Silas. Alan carefully, lovingly places the sodden brain mushroom atop Silas's beautiful head. The mushroom ichor drips down his face. His eyes flicker open, a perplexed look on him. He cranes his neck, trying to figure out what is on his head. He begins to thrash around. Shh, be cool, man, Alan says, grinning. Be cool, you're gonna love this. There is a fizzing sound like Alka-Seltzer. He stops thrashing. His eyes close and his body becomes stiff, calm. Something beautiful is happening. Blood streams down Silas Sherman's face. The mushroom is enveloping his head. It is pulsing with palpable pleasure. The brain mushroom feels good. You can feel it feeling good, and you feel good too. The other brother, Harold, is beginning to awake. He does not feel good. He's yelling. Alan lifts the mushroom off of what used to be his brother's head. He says to Harold, if there is one truth known to the mushroom, it is that the difference between life and death is strictly temporal. It does not exist in fundamental reality. Death and life lead to one another, inevitably. And time, of course, is a concept of the human mind, a function of human perception. The fungi do not bother with it. The mushroom is the halfway point between plant and animal, between life-giver and life-taker and life-liver. The mushroom is the gateway. While you are considering this, Alan is removing the engorged brain mushroom from Harold Sherman's from Silas Sherman's ichor cauterized neck stump. A purpose is being served here. Your instincts were correct. Things are turning out better than you could have possibly imagined. All right, Alan says, cradling the brain mushroom, now twice its original size and glowing with neon bioluminescence, a million hair-like tendrils trailing underneath. Should I go first, or you? Do you go first, or do you have Alan? We go first. For a moment, it stings. There's a ring of tiny tendrils digging into your skull, a crown of thorns. But the ichor has a blissful numbing effect, and you are done with pain. It is warm, and now there is only joy. Thank you.
Aaron Bennett and Michael Rosenstein.
Holy cow.
That was like the Coen Brothers movie I've been waiting for my entire life. But I listened to a lot of Uriah Heep.
Are you ready for your next performance? You guys ready to go? All right. It's going to be a good one.
I'm going to put these stickers on the end of the model
seems so
catwalk
smart.
while you introduce the next
Okay.
act.
That sounds good.
And I'm going to do a little...
Do you want to model? I'll get out of your way.
No, you leave that there. I can do this.
You can model. It's okay. You got it.
There's no models do it, right?
No. That's how they do it. Now you have it. Now you have it. So our next reader...
Take a sticker. Don't be a pig.
Yeah. Our next reader is Riley, and he runs a whole bunch of shows here in Salem, right next door at Kodo, that you should go see sometime. He runs tons of comedy shows there. He's also in one of my favorite bands, which probably couldn't play the show because they only have about 4 songs. They're called Sex Dog, and they're awesome. Riley Nispel, he's hilarious, and I'm very excited for his story. And the band that is going to back him up is our house band, Death Shepherd, which consists of Aaron, Talbot, who is coming over here, and then sometimes a third person who I assume they killed.
Yeah.
They did. They did. He's dead. Do you guys still plan in the name Death Shepherd when it's just the two of you?
I think there's a quorum.
Make it official. We're Life Shepherd. We'll
Now they're Life Shepherd. Perfect. Perfect.
The third member had a baby, so he can't be here.
Oh, that's exciting for him.
Shepherd his baby into life.
That's very sweet.
Weird
Excellent.
baby. Real weird baby.
So, your next performer has done pretty much the amount of mushrooms that were in our last story, and I think that he is ready to talk to us. Give it up for Riley.
Hello. Thank you so much. I'm very sorry if this story is bad, but it's called Nocturnal Emissions, and it's, I wrote it yesterday. All right. You guys ready? Good. I don't know why I'm doing crowd work. This is a storytelling show. All right. Shut your mouth and know your role, Sean screamed at me, waking me from my stone, self-loathing diatribe I was free associating in my head. Topics included, why wasn't I invited to Shannon's party? What if I have to move because my dad got laid off? What if a cop drives by and decides to search us? The latter is what's giving me the shakes the most. I look up at Sean, who had scaled a few rungs of the rusty fence that lined the tennis court at Lamar City Park. We'd snuck out of his parents' house at 11:30 p.m. to smoke shitty weed that I got from my cousin out of a Mountain Dew can. Weed really seemed to amp Sean up. I just seemed to get nervous. I honestly don't know why I keep doing it. He's grunting guitar licks with his fists in the air, with his scrunching his eyebrows, so I'm guessing he's going on about some wrestling he saw on Monday. He knows I don't give a shit, and I don't know why we're friends, but still, I'm glad I'm not home. Oh shit! Sean jumped down off the fence, crouching like a startled animal. I thought he'd seen the cops, and I threw the Mountain Dew can and the rest of the dirt weed underneath a picnic table. I was ready to run. I didn't want to face my mom and dad, spent waiting for them at the police station. It's the last thing anybody needs. Derek, come look at this. I crouched towards him, not knowing exactly what he's looking at, and then I see it in the far left, near the front entrance of the park. Something was on top of the Truman statue. Harry S. Truman. Yes, I've been familiar with the two-term president's name since I started grade school. The most famous person from Lamar, though some cops and rednecks would say they would rather have a Wyatt Earp statue. I was indoctrinated with enough positive attributes of his legacy with book reports, school plays, and movies they showed in class, while later listening to the negatives rattled off by my cousin's hippie friends to not really care one way or other about the man. So I apologized to his estate that I laughed when I saw someone had poured green paint on top of his memorial statue. And that's what it looked like, with the street post bathed in a pale light above, dark green paint, until I saw it move. What the hell is that? Sean wheezed out. I didn't have an answer. It was gyrating rhythmically on top of the president's shoulders. We moved closer like we were 5 years younger, pretending to be soldiers in the jungle, making useless hand gestures to signal each other to move. I gestured Sean to move closer, because I knew I was too high to really deal with what was happening 16 feet away from us. Then I saw an eye open. dark brown with big black pupils. Then I noticed the spiky scales along its back. That's when I realized I was definitely too high to confront this. But it was too weird, too out of the lame, everyday dullness of this town not to pursue. It swung its head back and its mouth opened. It looked like a race runner lizard that I'd seen running around my uncle's yard, but much bigger and cartoonish green. I was scared it was going to notice us, so I placed my hand in the air to stop Sean, but he'd already crawled on his arms up ahead of me. I tiptoed closer to him and this creature, and I began to hear noises. Oh, fuck. God damn, baby. This shit got me like, oh, fuck. God damn. This thing was speaking, with words I was somewhat familiar with, being one of the first rap records I had heard was 2 Live Crew's Me So Horny. So that should have given me some inkling as to what was happening. But it wasn't until I saw Sean's big, goofy, red-faced, idiotic smirk that I knew what was happening. This was a giant lizard, face-fucking the statue of Harry S. Truman. Holy fuck, look at the hog on that thing, Sean yelled out with a big, dumb laugh. My eyes widened. I could have fallen to the ground paralyzed with fear. I knew for sure that this was the part in Jurassic Park when the velociraptor would turn its head 180 degrees, jump down off the statue, and devour us both within seconds. But it didn't. It just kept giving hell to the stone-cold head of old Harry. Oh, fuck, boy. Shit, damn. The buck stops here. God damn. Should we call the cops? I said, stunned. What? Are you crazy? No, man, I'm going home to grab my camera. Shit, maybe I should throw something at it. No! I tensed up. Let's just go to your house and grab the camera. He nodded okay. I think he saw how scared I was, and I know now why we're friends. Suddenly I heard something. Todd, you're so fucking stupid. It's Shannon's voice. Soon came after was Shannon Nicholas herself walking backwards, laughing at Todd Dresden, who then ran up and picked her up by the waist. It's not my fault Randy Harold is a shithead. Todd says, laughing, lit up from cheap beer. We should have walked the other way, but Shannon looked so cool in her brother's Sepultura t-shirt. Maybe discovering something weird was fueling my optimism, but I had to talk to her. Not about the lizard fuck-talking the statue, but why she wasn't at her own party, and what was she doing now? She notices me walking up to her. Her smile drops. Hey, Derek. Not off to a great start. Her smile picks up. Hey, Sean! Sean-o! Todd bellows, and he swoops down the path to try to hip tackle Sean. A big, sweaty country hoss pal around ensues. Everybody legitimately loves Sean. I wouldn't be surprised if he was invited to Shannon's party, but chose to hang out with his invisible friend for the night instead. I asked Shannon, why aren't you at your party? I can feel my question holding her back from the relief of not wanting to interact with me. Oh, the cops showed up. Fucking Randy Harold kicked out one of my windows. I'll have to deal with all that shit tomorrow. I stuttered to say something, but all I can do is try to point to the scaly, Doberman-sized reptile making love to an inanimate object above us. Shannon, come look at this, babe! Todd yells out. Yeah, I pipe up. Yeah, Sean and I found this. We didn't know what it is. I wouldn't stand too close. What is it saying? Todd asks. Sweet nothings, darling, Sean says and tags him in the nuts. This is disgusting, Shannon shouts with glee as she breaks from Todd to inspect the lascivious act up close. Holy crap, look at its Hermie penis. Gross! She was always good at science and biology, and sure enough, its lipstick red tentacle-like genitalia is rubbing all over the haberdasher's kind but stern face. If you're scared, we can go back to your place and call animal control, I say as some weird, desperate way to sound like a hero or valiant knight. Yeah, I'm not scared at all, dude, whatever. Swing and a miss. The four of us stood in awe for a moment until we saw blue and red flashing lights frantically behind us. We turned around and it was Officer Fredrickson. All right, kids, pull up your pants. It's time to... Oh, you're all fully clothed. Who's making all that noise? We then in unison pointed at the lizard. He shines his light on it mid-act. He seems reasonably confused. Oh, fuck, baby, yeah, god damn, shit. He then shines his light on Shannon. Wasn't I just at your house? Then all of a sudden we hear more voices. What the hell is going on down here? It was Donald Johansson, a local bank manager. What's that noise? The bedroom talk got louder, and the bass in its voice got more verbose. You could feel it traveling through your bones with each half word it spoke. Oh, shit, God, Then came the fire department, and more cops, then different mothers and fathers from kids we went to school with. Then kids themselves, then managers of supermarkets, DPW workers, and so on. It was like this thing's perverted sex sounds were a siren beacons drawing everyone from the small cities to its uncertain doom. But why? It got louder. Oh, shit. God damn. Oh, fuck. My stomach began to feel queasy. My jaw felt heavy. All of a sudden, I feel hands clasped down on my shoulders. I turn around and find my father. He looks crazy. My mother is behind him, wearing a red sweatshirt with flowers on it, looking distraught. Where's Kendra? I asked my dad. She's at home sleeping. Why aren't you at Sean's house? Before I could answer him, I got distracted by all the commotion. Arguments started erupting between large groups of people. Some were on the side of, kill this vile, cold-blooded creature freak now! Others were on like, protect this majestic creature at all costs. How godly is it to put a bullet in the back of a harmless animal, screamed Penelope Fernwell, owner of the local health food store, The Green Bean. There's nothing holy about this beast or what it's doing, retorted Father McDaniels. Oh, goddamn, holy shit, fuck. The vibrations became heavier. I could see that bastard Randy Harold had driven his shit kicker Ford with monster truck wheels into the park and was doing donuts while listening to Korn. I don't know if this was going to turn into a giant tailgate party or a full-scale riot or both. I turned back to my dad, who was crying, holding my mother, telling her everything was going to be okay. People started taking off their clothes and fist-fighting. Shannon was writhing against the statue while urinating on the ground. Todd and Sean were making out, hard. All the law enforcement and government workers were all consumed by the frantic energy. Half of them were laughing like maniacs while others were screaming like psychopaths. It all started to feel like too much. My head was pounding. I was overstimulated by the scene and frightened that what I knew of life was over. I slowly made my way to Officer Fredrickson, who had just dropped trowel and was on his way to swim in the koi pond. I unclipped the black Smith & Wesson from his holster and pointed at the lizard. I never shot a gun in my life, so I can't explain why I'm so confident this is the right thing to do, and I was the right man for the job. But I pulled the trigger. Nothing happens. The safety's on. Shit, how do I get the safety off? And then I'm blinded. I was always jealous of the kids who were on Double Dare. I wanted to compete for a comped hotel at Universal Studios, but most of all I wanted to be covered in that cold green ooze. Or wish no more, because that dream had become a reality for me and almost every other member of the community. The sun was out, the lizard was gone, and all that was left was a large assortment of exposed, vulnerable, sticky, small-town Americans. Nobody said anything. Everybody moved slowly, walking out of the park. Someone helped each other up without even looking each other in the eyes. It was understood that nobody would speak of this again. We grew up. Shannon's a real estate broker. Todd's married with kids. Sean's a retail manager for a sporting goods company. Sorry. I moved to Cincinnati and sold insurance over the phone. Sometimes I go back to Lamar to see my dad and my sister's family. The city holds community barbecues and various events, and Harry S. Truman still stands in that park. It's like the whole night was such a weird, anticlimactic waste of time, and that it was no problem just to group forget it away. But I hope it was more important and not something I'm meant to forget, because it haunts me every night. Oh, fuck, baby. God damn. Shit! Thank you very much.
Give it up for Riley and Death Shepherd. That was amazing.
Angela,
Yeah.
are you as horny as I am? I'm losing
Always.
I'm losing
Always.
my mind. Ooh, I need a moment. That was fantastic. Thank you, Riley and Death Shepherd.
Yeah. Yeah, give it up for him one more time. It's really good. We're going to have one more set before we have a little intermission.
We're gonna take, you're gonna have one more story, and then you can, have a moment. Right now, your existence is up around here, and we just want to give you a moment to let it settle back in, and then we're gonna shoot it right the fuck back out. So,
You ready?
yes.
Okay, so our next reader is a comedian from Boston, one of my favorites, incredibly funny. I don't know, she's on every show in town. She's really great. Her name's Valley D. You want to tell us about our musician?
I do. I met him tonight. I heard a bit of when he was setting up, and it sounded wonderful. His name is Abdul Sherzai, and I'm delighted he's here. So let's hear it for Abdul and Valley D.
Hello, I'm not going to do as Riley did and do crowd work, so I don't give a fuck how you are. Okay, my story is called Flogsha and the New Planet. In a not too distant future, in a parallel universe not too far from our own, there is a planet with a name, populated by Clem-2 aliens. Aliens to us, but not to each other. Eroding from the inside out due to a virus, which resulted in an environmental plague, this planet with a name was quickly becoming uninhabitable. The richest families had already left with a name, ready to populate a new nearby planet, the New Planet. After the rich went, the middle class. Left behind on with a name were Clem-2s with disabilities and the poor. 16-year-old Flogsha had problems not unlike our own. For example, she never knew when her circle was coming, even though it came every week. A circle of liquid not unlike the color or consistency of strawberry jam would emblazon her palm, and a pain would jolt up her arm to indicate her activating Clem-2 eggs. Imagine shaking the cute space math teacher's hand while leaking circle ooze onto his hand. We've all been there, or somewhere like it. Pretty gross. Flogsha had a bully who spread rumors about her. One time there was a rumor that Flogsha had monopoopleosis, a disease you get from kissing someone or sharing a drink with them. If you had monopoopleosis, your poop came out the color of the sky, and you got monopoopleosis signature poop yells. As you pooped, you yelled out the name of the person you kissed. How embarrassing. You'd be at your grandma's house yelling out that cute boy's name. Usually it would be little Clem-2 girls yelling out other girls' names because they mostly practiced kissing with each other. And little boys rarely yelled it out because they led boring, kissless lives. After the rumor spread that Flogsha was sick with monopoopleosis, no one wanted to kiss her for a whole 6 months. Her best friend Tiglator always teased her that he would never kiss her because he already had had a case of monopoopleosis once, and he didn't want to get it again. Flogsha would play along, but it was annoying. It wasn't like she even wanted to kiss Tiglator. They were just friends. But she didn't want anyone to think she actually had monopoopleosis. It's hard enough to find someone you want to kiss, let alone convince them not to be afraid of yelling your name while they poop. Anyway, this bully Orphapat was lame as hell and probably acted out of jealousy, but she always had the fanciest clothes, food, and attitude. Plus, she was a great lip syncer. Orphapat's rich uncle would buy her all the fanciest, newest gear, but he famously suffered from rich-pression, which was depression uniquely experienced by rich Clem-2s. Anyway, people liked to hang around Orphapat in case she shared her fancy gear with them. Flogsha hated having a bully. That was no good, but there was something in Flogsha's life that was even more difficult. She knew that her family could not afford to relocate to the New Planet. Not the three of them together, anyway. One of her parents had to stay behind, or she would have to, because as a family, they only had enough blup-blups saved up for 2 rocket passes. With Orphapat's rich-pressed uncle in mind, Flogsha would concede, mo blup-blups, mo problems. One day, Flogsha was hanging out with Tiglator when they heard about a huge talent contest coming up, specifically named Lip Sync Battle for a Rocket Pass. Anyone from their planet with a name would compete to win a rocket pass to relocate to the New Planet. Wow, this is so convenient for the exact situation I'm in, Flogsha said. She knew she had to compete so her family could relocate together. You're gonna be great, Tiglator encouraged. Just don't accidentally poop while you're on stage. It's supposed to be lip syncing, so you can't actually use your voice. He gave her his dimpled smile. Ha, ha, Flautia said. After days of practicing in her bedroom, choreographing a very elaborate routine, Flautia was ready for the contest. In the lip-sync battle for a rocket pass, she kept beating people and moving on. She was thrilled to win the semifinals, and then she found herself up against Orphapat, who was almost sure to win because she'd been taking lip-syncing lessons her whole life and had always planned to become a professional lip-syncer. Who does that? Orphapat. In their final lip-sync battle, Orphapat lip-synced Tupac's California Love, a classic. She gave a spectacular performance. Flautia waited in anticipation for her track to play, for a song never before lip-synced, but which she knew would be explosive, Rick James's Super Freak. More excited than she'd ever been, suddenly, Flautia felt ooze on her palm. It was time to go on stage. She crushed. Backstage again, she transformed into a nervous wreck. Tiglator comforted Flautia. That was great. If you don't win, just know. That was great. That was still great. Tiglator seemed nervous. Flautia bit her nails, awaiting the judge's decision. From the corner of the stage, she could see her parents in the audience, hugging each other tightly, staring at the judge's table. And the winner is Orphapat! The audience roared. Orphapat beamed as she received her prize. Backstage, Flautia stood mute as a statue, while Tiglator clutched at her wrists. Hey, Flautia, listen to me. That was great. I'm so sorry. You were great. He gazed at her as her leftmost eye watered. Slowly, one teardrop escaped down her cheek. He leaned in close and used his cheek to wipe it away. He hugged her tightly and walked her over to her parents. I'm so sorry, Mom and Dad, she burst out. Her parents leaped up to hug their daughter, at once so proud of her, yet devastated for their family. They would have to decide who in their little family would relocate to the new planet and who was to stay behind on With a Name. As the crowd started to thin, Orphapat saw Flautia's family's pain from across the room. Orphapat felt a pang of guilt. There was no way she could live knowing she caused this much damage. This was no mononucleosis prank. She walked up to the family. Hey, Flautia, so, my uncle was gonna pay for me to relocate anyway. I don't need this rocket pass. I just wanted to prove that I was good at something. Look, whatever. You can have it. Flautia looked up at Orphapat completely still. She couldn't believe it. Are you serious? She asked. Yeah, just take it. Orphapat handed Flautia the shiny rocket pass. They shook hands. Looking at her palm, Orphapat grimaced. And hey, on the new planet, leave me the hell alone. The end.
One more time for Abdul and Valley. That was amazing. I don't know how they do it. Do you?
I feel like we all just grew up a little bit.
Yeah, we did.
Second puberty all around.
So have a break for a couple minutes. Talk to the people who are on the stage because they're awesome. Talk to each other.
Have a model sticker.
Have some stickers.
We'll be back in about, 10, 15 minutes, something
Yeah,
like that.
something
We'll
like
let
that.
you know. Don't
It's
worry.
a party for a minute.
Yeah, go nuts for 15 minutes exactly. We are going to get back on this. You're on my time, people. This is my time. Oh, sorry.
We're on your time, but your time is so elusive.
It's all those mushrooms, baby.
It stretches just like science fiction.
Is everyone having a good time? I was so delighted with every single person in that first act,
Yeah, that was pretty great.
and I really look forward to being disappointed going forward. JK, they're all going to be killers.
It's pretty fun.
Welcome
Ready?
back. Yes.
Everybody got a chance to sit, to chat, all those things? Good. Round two, we're going to have Michael Rosenstein back on sounds. Yeah. And you want to introduce our reader?
Yes. Joining us is a stalwart of the program. You've seen him in Death Shepherd with the other little weirdo, and he is always coming up and killing it. And I have no doubts about that being the case again. Talbot shall be reading.
Thank you. Good evening. So this is the final testament and account of a person's life living on a ship. It's an administrative record of her last thoughts and words, an explanation of how she got where she is. I was just lethally dosed with a variety of emotional sensations. I'm pretty sure it's mostly rage, but there's something else pretty strong in there. Nostalgia, I think. Which would explain why I can't stop ragefully thinking about these old growths I used to love so much. Damn, I miss these growths. I used to have these sweet tentacles that grew out from the back of my ears. I'm fucking pissed about losing those. I have no idea where they came from, but they were nice and they were mine. But they had to be removed for me to complete my siphonist training. So here's what I do. I'm a siphonist. Siphoning is the art of removing an emotion from a sentient and distilling it into a liquid or a solid format that can then be consumed by another sentient. There are many applications for a distilled emotion like this, ranging from therapies to forms of recreation. Siphonists are employed in various facilities throughout the ship, but my personal experience was centered on the arrival center, where we take on new citizens. Now, for reasons I'll get into, there's a good cause to have many siphonists down there. The primary tool of the trade is the siphon, and that's spelled P-S-Y-F-O-N. If you saw one and you didn't know what it was, you'd probably think it was a saxophone. And it basically is, except the bell is adjustable and fits over a subject's cranium, or whatever container they might keep their mind and thoughts in. Instead of blowing through a saxophone like this, you suck on it. While sucking, you press and release the valves in certain sequences, and it draws out emotions from the subject's mind, distilling them into a container. Different sequences will pull different emotions, provided the subject is experiencing them. Travelers all arrive by way of the moon pool. On arrival, they're usually extremely confused as hell, and they come bubbling up into the lower decks with no idea what happened or why they're here. Now, every native-born citizen of the ship has a clear memory of the day they were hatched. This is like that. But pushing out of your egg is the first and worst thing that any one of us can recall, and we recall it vividly. Not existing is pretty sweet. Stretching your body and mind until you've become an overeducated emotional vampire is kind of fucking horrible. There's something about transitioning into the ship from another world that requires or induces an intense emotional experience, which is why I'm there. Travelers will arrive experiencing some absolutely absurd level of feelings. And it could be any emotion. There's always confusion, but they could be feeling any number of other things. Sadly, I can't help them much. It's not my job. What is my job is to drain these rubes of their emotions as fast as possible. Now, being a siphonist down at the moon pool is a pretty boring job most of the time. Your shift is 12 hours long, and you really only see one traveler every 3 shifts or so, but you need to be there. About half the time, that traveler will be dead on arrival. We cart those duds down to the meat depot for processing, and we eat them. Of the half that arrive still breathing, about 90% will die within a day. But those unfortunates have all kinds of feelings for me to harvest. It's rare to take in a survivor, and rarer still, one that seems to thrive. Then there was Padre. I had never seen anything like Padre before. Padre didn't just bubble up, a cold, blubbering mess like most arrivals. Padre just casually swam up to the surface and jumped right out of the pool. This was very strange. Now, as I mentioned before, arriving on the ship is like being born. So imagine, for you guys, spawning brood is sort of a painful, horrible, blood and guts, crying and pushing kind of experience. This was more akin to a baby just sort of falling out and giving out high fives. That's what this was. Padre was pumped to be here, or seemed to be, and did not seem too shook by the ordeal. Now that alone was weird as hell. But combined with Padre's appearance, I was never the same. From the neck down, Padre had the precise bodily form of an administrator. He was about 8 feet tall, 2 inches thick, spindly. However, instead of the nasty tattered rag that admins usually wear, this one had Baroque plate armor. Gold plates inlaid with ornate silver designs. Stranger yet, instead of the mouthless, noseless face with creepy admin eyes that speak, there's just this blinding ray of light. He might have an admin's face. There's no way to tell, because looking at his face is an exercise in ocular pain. Also like an admin, Padre never spoke, but was able to communicate thoughts directly by a kind of non-verbal telepathy. I got the sense he used to, or believed he used to be some kind of god from wherever he was from, but never specified what of. I have no idea if that was true. But what I did know after a brief examination is Padre had a deeper emotional well than anything I had ever seen. After this dude arrived, I was removed from Moonpool duty. I stopped processing arrivals. I just processed Padre. He was a full-time job that might have gone on forever. Now, a typical siphonist will need to replace their siphon maybe every couple years. With Padre, I burned through 7 nice ones in 3 months. Padre's not like a normal sentient either. A typical sentient will experience a few emotions at a time, and one is usually dominating. The art of siphoning is all about identifying that dominant emotion and calibrating your siphon to draw it out. Padre's turned all the way up on every single emotion all the goddamn time. I didn't even have to try. I'd just pop the siphon on his head and take out as much of whatever I needed to fill my quota for the day. He and I never talked much. He couldn't talk. But he was pretty forthcoming with vague claims about that alleged divinity. And even though his face you couldn't see it, his body language really conveyed a placid acceptance about living alone in a windowless lower deck of a hellboat, being visited by me and my siphon twice a day. 20 minutes ago, things changed. I found Padre's secret feeling. My production order I received today was just to harvest a pretty typical type of relief, the sort that's related to accepting failure and giving up on something. I was maybe 1 hour into a steady pull when I noticed a taste in the stream, something I hadn't sensed before. I definitely noticed Padre noticing me noticing this taste, and for the first time ever, Padre felt uneasy. I adjusted the siphon to pursue this alien sensation a little closer. That was a mistake. Padre threw himself across the room in agony, tearing the siphon from his head and hurling it. His armor clavered violently as he crashed to the floor. He assumed a squatting position with his back to me. I was startled. Something about him had changed. And in my state, I couldn't quite identify what, though it was obvious. I took a quick glance at the siphon. Clearly it was ruined. I turned back to where Padre was and was terrified to find he was right behind me. Silently had snuck up. He loomed over me. His face cast directly down in the direction of mine. His light had gone out. There was just a void, a featureless gap, a tear in reality. But there was something behind that horrifying visage. And instinctively I knew I could never fathom what things swam in that abyss. He spoke. No. I frantically apologized, promising to give back whatever it was I had taken. That I didn't mean to. It had been an accident. The second and probably final thing I heard him say, no. Padre reached out to my shelves with his absurdly long arm. He grasped a random assortment of crystallized emotion, crushed them in his skinny little hands. He then took my neck in one hand and ground the fragments into my flesh, directly into my bloodstream. I lost track as I lost track of myself. I lost track of him as he stormed around the office and my mind begins to break up. I see an administrator. I thought I did. Yes, I did. Now you're here. I'm experiencing a lucid moment, but I don't expect it to last much longer. So it's been nice to have you here for these final moments. Oh, yeah, me. My name's Jesse Van de Luna. I'm a ship's siphonist, first class. I've lived on the ship, and I'm about to die of rage and nostalgia.
Oh, man. That was Talbot and Michael Rosenstein, you guys.
Feelings.
They are the worst.
I hate them.
We all do.
Despite that, I want to meet Padre. He seems cool. I want to party with that guy. What do we got next?
Let's look at the tiny list. The tiny list says, oh, Abdul's going to play next, and I'm going to read.
Oh, that's
It's
wonderful.
me.
Angela Sawyer is going to read us a story. Abdul Sherzai is going to play some music. And also, let's hear it again for Talbot and Michael Rosenstein.
Yeah, one more time for that. I'm super psyched to play with Abdul. It's always hard to follow Talbot, but he did mention in his story an overeducated emotional vampire, and that is a perfect introduction to my personality. I am going to turn 48 this month, and if you've ever been anywhere over 25, you know that bodies are our enemies. Yes, they are terrible. They are not fun. So I have been thinking lately about whether or not I personally, not a character in a story, but me personally, Angela Sawyer, has the worst DNA. Somebody has to, right? And maybe it's me. I have an okay case that it might be me. So I wrote, this story is called The Worst DNA. People have been talking to me a lot lately. Yeah, of course, it kind of sucks knowing somebody is out there and they have everything I don't have. But Donald Trump the 18th having me for a twin is not the worst thing going on right now. I mean, the worst thing going on right now is definitely all those people still dying from the brain-eating micro-aliens, right? And you're here, you're still talking to me and listening to what I say? Like all of France is gone now, I heard. France, all of it. I'm sorry that I'm a problem for the 18th because nobody knew about me before, but the 18th has more problems than just me, just like I have more problems than just him. Because it is just like everybody says. Since I'm me everywhere all the time, the 18th is not the worst thing going on for me. Like you here, you probably know how cheese works. And bread. And beer. I don't. Can't fucking follow half of what they're saying. I do totally get the twin stuff though. Like, you can't ever put all the good things in one place without something going all weird, but you can always put all the bad things in one place. And it's nice to know that whatever's going on with our king by the grace of God emperor and autocrat of all the Russias, at least he doesn't have itchy ears or indigestion or whatever I have. I don't know a lot, but I do know that a lot of the things that we think of as simple, basic things are on their insides right in the middle of rotting. We just have practiced a lot at using them at the exact right point in the rotting process. I'm not even talking about food that used to be alive running around animals. I'm talking about food that used to be alive plants. A lot of our food and even like wood furniture and everything just happens to be the right amount of dead for our purposes. You don't say it like that, of course. You say natural or organic. I guess it never occurred to anybody before that people could, at some point, be the right amount of organic for somebody else's purpose. I've never had cheese, so I don't know what cheese's thoughts might taste like. I wasn't allowed to have those organic type foods before at the school. I always ate lab food. But I get how it is. Because, like, I remember the first time I noticed that adults sometimes look directly into the faces of children and really smile. Oh man, I was like in third before I ever even saw that. It caught me way off guard. And of course, the adult wasn't even looking at me. It's the same kind of thing. It's not that bad, really. I was born with my feet facing backwards, but I don't remember. Something always swells when it rains, but like, that's not that bad. My neck is so short that sweaters all hit me in the chin, and one of my legs bends like to the side instead of where they usually bend. Miss Babajanov said my brain works okay, at least compared to, well, like, it could have been a lot worse. It's not great. Words slow down sometimes if I get tired, but I'm still in here. So here, for the millionth time, here's what happened. Miss Babajanov, she read paper to us out loud over the whole spring section, a little every day. It's not fast like the words that come out of tablets. Miss Babajanov always looked at me, and she might not have smiled, but she always said, paper only goes as fast as you go. She also ran a contest every section to see who could read the most papers. You had to turn in a little report about every papers you read to get your papers counted. And the winner got to go, just you and her, for ice cream. I won 5 times out of 6 because I never went outside, and plus everybody likes tablets a lot better instead. The last time, though, Anushka won instead. Anushka is this tall girl, was this tall girl. Her hair, very soft. She was so tall, they let her play the cello. And I'm not supposed to touch some things because I'm kind of clumsy, but Anushka, she went outside every day, and she liked it too. So I don't know how she did it, but she beat me by 300 pages. Sometimes I have to go here, outside. It's not great, but they make you. The sun makes my face throb. In fact, it makes my face feel like there's a starfish gripping from behind it in the empty space. And it really is pretty empty compared to how Anushka's was, I guess. Anyway, Miss Babajanov must have noticed that I was surprised about how I got beat about the pages. I wasn't that surprised. I get beat at stuff all the time. But she thought it was bad because they were going to get rid of the papers soon. I mean, Anushka didn't do it very often after all, and everybody at the school did what Anushka did. Whatever. Miss B took us both for the ice cream. We went in Miss Babajanov's own car that she drove herself manually. I never got to talk to Anushka before, and she turned around in the seat and asked me what flavor I was going to get. I've only ever had chocolate and peanut butter ice cream, and only when I won the contest the 5 times. They're right. They're right when they say it wouldn't matter if you had the right genes, because it never occurred to me to try any of the flavors other than chocolate peanut butter. That seemed like the best one, so of course that was the one I got every time. Anushka got strawberry. Strawberry is a kind of fruit, and it works like the bread and the cheese and the beer in that you have to eat it at exactly the right time. So we were standing on the sidewalk with the ice cream, and it was outside and the sun was very bright. Anushka started to eat hers first because you kind of wait for someone like that to start. And she started around the sides, and as her face came close to the ice cream, it got bigger and redder. A little. I think we both saw it, though. And Miss Babajanov was not really paying attention at that point, and it was definitely weird. But sometimes weird things happen. So Anushka starts moving the ice cream closer and further away to see if it will keep getting bigger and smaller. And that's when it got really big and really red. And Anushka made her face into this perfect O shape. And that's when Miss Babajanov turned around and it got really big. And then it just kind of moved into Anushka's face. Anushka just blinked. And Miss Babajanov just blinked. And that's when I decided to throw my ice cream in the trash, even if it was chocolate peanut butter. By the time I got back, Miss B was like, "Boy, you ate that so fast." I guess they say now that I could have eaten the chocolate peanut butter ice cream because it's not the kind that rots. But I didn't know. At least I got the 5 times. Everything was fine after that, so we just went back to the school. And then 2 weeks later, outside on the playground, I wasn't there. I guess Anushka's head turned into this crazy red thing and got really super big and everyone died. I saw the puddles. Miss Babajanov survived that part. I don't know where she was, but obviously she was helping fix it or clean up or whatever. And then a couple weeks after that, while everybody was still freaking out about the first thing, all of a sudden it happened a bunch more times. Bam, 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 bam. The families of the employees, and then the people that they work with in other places, and then their families. Miss Babajanov got in one of those ones, and you can imagine how bad everybody was freaking out after that. So almost right away, I was the only one still at the school. The people like Miss Babajanov who went somewhere else to sleep at night stopped coming in. The kids who went outside were all puddles. All of them, I think. For a while, there was this one other real little kid from the lab on the other side of the school. I don't know if that kid was supposed to go outside or not, but that's what ended up happening, and I don't know what happened to that kid after that. Some people here say the ice cream thing didn't get me because my brain would taste bad. And some people here say it's because I always ate lab foods. I don't know, but I'm not having any strawberry ice cream now, that's for sure. Anyway, I stayed inside with all of the papers, and I read them, and I ate the food in the lab packages, because that's what I was always doing anyway. And after a long time, it was 6 months ago. And that's when the men in the big black Subascoots came, and they pointed those toothpaste-looking things at me. And once I said that I ate just the food in the packages, we came here. And at first, it was just a lot more scuba suit people and a lot of lights and stuff. But as soon as they found out that I'm the twin of the king by the grace of God, emperor, and autocrat of all the Russias, loads more people, and just regular clothes. People have been talking to me a lot ever since. Thanks.
Let's hear it for Angela's story about the things that lurk inside us. And thank you, Abdul. That got real loud for a second. I'm turning down this mic. We've got something complicated happening now.
Yes, this will be fun. I'm excited for this part. So, here's what's going on. Our next story was written by 2 different people, and one of them is reading, but then the other parts of the story are going to be read by one of you. We're going to have Death the Shepherd back it up musically.
Yes.
Let's start with this.
I
Let's get
concur.
Eric Anker up here on the stage. Welcome, Eric. Eric is a super funny comedian in Boston, and you've been writing screenplays with John Staley, yes?
Screenplay?
Screenplay, yes?
Yeah, I don't want to commit to more than that.
John's written a bunch.
Yeah.
Cool.
Also, I was thinking that the amount of chaos that we are about to summon.
Yeah, that's the correct amount of chaos.
Or I could just do the whole thing by myself.
No, let's summon some chaos.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, so I know that some of you in the audience have been readers at this show before, and you are allowed to participate again. And also, if you have seen this happen and you thought, I could do that, you are now correct. You could. You can come up here and read with Eric. Do I have any volunteers who would like to do that? I am looking at you. I am looking at some people. They are feeling freaked out.
I think that's a hand
I got
raise.
one.
I see a hand raise right there.
I think that's Melissa Fernandez. Come on up here.
I think that was a hand raise. I don't think I projected that on you. Okay. This is Melissa Fernandez, who has done our show in the past and was fantastic and will be coming back again someday in her own right.
Okay, I'm going to get the script up on my phone. Would you explain how it's going to be read?
Sure. Okay, so it's a script, it's a screenplay, and there are more than 2 characters, but John was here, but he got sick, so let's have a moment of silence for John real quick. That's enough. And we were just going to go back and forth, sort of alternating who was talking, using voices. And so we're both going to be the same character and the different characters. So basically, we're just going to kind of go back and forth. Are you cool with that? And there's going to be an audience. There's a cult in this story. So there's going to be a part where the cult says something. I'll tell the audience what the cult is saying, and then you repeat after me, because it'll be more fun because it's like we're a cult. All right, so I'm just going to get started. Opening sequence. Go ahead.
An ominous voice narrates over a sequence of agricultural shots.
Press on. Nothing in this world can take the place of persistence.
Shot of cow being injected with hormones.
Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful people with talent.
Shot of fields being sprayed with chemicals.
Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb.
Shot of frozen beef entering a fast food restaurant.
Education alone will not. The world is full of educated derelicts.
Screen turns black.
Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. Omnipotent like all things American that are intolerable. But yet if you live a life just comforting enough not to do something about it, there are people that get away with incredible betrayals. It is not extreme to state that the American public would even let itself be exposed to... End sequence. Go ahead.
Introduce? Okay.
I'll do the headers.
Okay.
All right. Interior. McSanto's fast food restaurant. Day. The manager speaks up angrily.
Jordan Peterson's asshole.
Oh yeah.
The black screen from the sequence pans out and there's a mold of a buttocks that serves as a food tray.
You serve McSanto's food in Jordan Peterson's asshole, you fucking moron. How do you expect McSanto's food to be served in anything less than that? That is the end of that scene. So now we're going to jump to basically what's going on is this McSanto's burger joint has like a McDonald's Monopoly game, And in this story, it's called the McNipply game because the pieces look like nipples. Go ahead, to the action.
Steve leans over to get the frisbee and the bag, and notices the frisbee started pulsing. He overturns the frisbee, and two red, glowing spheres appear. They are Ronaldo McSantos, the McSantos clown mascot, Ruby Nipples. They are glowing on the park ground.
I think I just won the McNipply game! That's Steve.
Steve finds himself standing in awe of the Ruby Nipples, glowing in the dark.
This is even better than winning that trip to Mexico I wanted. McSantos is so nice. I want to be adopted by them. They're my family. My family.
At these words, the ruby nipples illuminate even brighter and fly onto Steve's nipples. Steve becomes transfixed and enters into a hallucinatory state. He unconsciously starts chanting as he enters his vision.
French fries begin skittering out of Steve's nose and streaming down his shirt. Red liquid oozes out of one nostril, and it appears to be blood, until mustard flows out of the other nostril. A burger slowly births out of Steve's mouth, and then turns inside out to engulf his head. The fries burst of the ends of it out of the ends of his shirt and sweatpants, covering his entire body. The fry and burger cocoon rests for a moment, and then Steve erupts free. He is new, reformed, enhanced, improved. Now his hair is combed and styled. He has a hamburger areole around his head, a halo glowing of burger deliciousness. He laughs triumphantly. End dream sequence. Interior, McSantos burger joint, night.
The manager is leaving McSantos for the night in his car. He pulls around the drive-thru where one of his young employees is switching the drive-thru menu from dinner to breakfast. He rolls down his car window.
Hey, Kev, don't forget to feed the apple pie McBeast.
I always feed the McBeast, you fucktard.
What?
I said I always feed him his bite-sized GMOs, boss.
Okay, thanks, champ.
Man-
Manager drives off. Abe puts away the last menu item, glances around furtively, and then heads inside. He heads to the freezer and pulls up on a lever to open a trap door. Abe says a password and lights from the statue of Ronaldo McSantos' eyes illuminate. He sets open the trap door and heads back to the front to open the front door, where outside stands a group of people, cult members, all wearing yellow or red hoods, cloaks, and faces of paint. They shamble inside and head down the trap door. The cult members assemble before a stage where, lounging on a sofa, a strangely attired being, the cult leader, slowly stands up to address the crowd. Interior, underground cult room, night.
Notably, the cult leader has on a mask similar to McDonald's character Grimace and has a value menu attached to his sternum. When he speaks, the cult leader's voice sounds like the typical drive-through menu with a tinny, scratchy voice.
All my people said... And then the cult responded, Super Mega Goliath size me. Be seated.
Everyone glances around. There are no seats, so they continue standing.
What do we know, my people? And the cult responded, the prophecy must be fulfilled. Indeed, the jeweled ketchup eyes will soon reveal the promised one. And the cult responded, the promised one. Now let us take our happy communion
pulls out a dirty ketchup barrel with a pump. The cultists line up before him. One by one, they each put their mouth under the pump for communion.
Communion. Okay, so now we're going to jump to the very last scene of the screenplay. That's just the end of that scene. Weird communion, ketchup cult. So now here we are. There's a epic battle going on at the end of the story, and here we go. Go ahead, start off there with Jenkins.
Oh. Jenkins, the McSantos CEO, starts to levitate.
The CEO's years of huffing Jenkum have prepared him and prepared the gateway for the beast.
Thank you, Stephen. Come again.
A clown flies out of the portal for the beast, which is Jenkins' rectum. The clown flies back into Jenkins' rectum and distorts Jenkins' frame. Jenkins collapses, and the upper half of the clown is seen towing the exec's dead body around.
Hey, I know that clown. That's Ronaldo McSanto.
Ronaldo McSanto has a nightmarish appearance and talks in a deep, twisted, inscrutable voice.
Steven!
Yes, the beast has finally arrived. The world will be forever dark.
The cult leader points to Teo and Stephen.
Beast Almighty, smite these two and begin the age.
The beast starts slowly crawling over to Teo and Steve. Teo shields Steve, whose ass starts to glow red.
Steve! Teo. Steve! What the hell happened to you?
My colon! Owie!
Wait a second, Steve. What did you do with the McNipply game pieces?
Well, like I said, I ran out of burgers.
Steven, did you eat the Ruby McNipples?
They look tasty.
Point your ass towards the scary clown, Steven.
I can't hold it in any longer.
Steve's ass begins to grow incredibly bright. With a sound of flatulence, a ruby warrior appears out of Steven's behind.
My God, what could that ever be?
It looks like me before he started eating McSantos food.
Stephen, are you serious?
Yeah, I don't really give a shit about that time in my life.
The Ruby Warrior kneels before Stephen.
Awaiting your commands, sir. Tell him to kill the beast, Stephen.
Kill the beast!
With Stephen's command, the warrior splits in two streams of ruby light. The beast changes directions and follows the ruby streams. The warrior forms again in front of the beast. The warrior draws a sword, engages in melee combat with the beast's claws. The two are locked and struggling to overpower one another. The beast starts to overpower the warrior.
My beast will prevail!
What the heck is giving the beast so much power?
Teo looks over and sees that Stephen is again snacking on a McSanto burger.
Stephen, for fuck's sake, put down the burger, man!
Teo slaps the burger out of Steve's hands. Just then, the warrior thrusts the clown off its grip and decapitates the beast. The beast's full body is messily ejected from Jenkins's ass.
Steve, you did it!
A few beats go by, and Steve has his head sunken into his shoulders.
What did you do?
You saved the day!
What did you do?
You saved the world from evil!
The cult leader bursts from between Teo and Steve.
Not quite yet! I think I can still throw a few sinister powers your way!
The cult leader points to a door which reveals Jesusa, tied to a chair.
Enough with you!
Nosferatu and drive-through! The powers of the burger compel you!
The cult leader makes a burger surrounded by blue flame appear.
Jesusa speaks up. Burgers are the last of Teo's concern. Crikey, even he lost his powers to McSanto, and he has vowed to rid the world of this gluttony.
Oh, very well then. I suppose I should be off on my way. But just one more thing. Steve, would you like another sandwich?
You took my burger, Teo, you fucking bastard.
Steve pushes Teo. Teo falls towards the cult leader, which tears his chest. The drive-through menu voice modulator off of him. The two of them are enveloped in the blue burger's flames.
Oh, my beautiful pacemaker!
That voice! I know that voice!
It is true.
Teo struggles but does take off the cult leader's mask.
Teo, I am your father.
No!
Teo's voice becomes garbled as he and the cult leader are consumed in flames.
Serves you fucking right.
Steve picks up the blue flame burger.
Well, hope it's tasty.
Steve eats the burger.
No, Steven, no! Don't you know anything?
I know taste, damn it!
Stop eating that devil burger and untie me.
First things first, God!
Steve takes one last bite of the burger. As the burger is completely consumed, Jesusa detects a rupture from the decapitated beast.
Steve, look at the beast's body! Something is happening!
Something happens every day. You're a fucking fussy.
Steve heads over to Jesusa. As he does, a new entity arises from the burger beast's rectal cavity. Steve reaches Jesusa when a new beast awakens.
Steve, look behind you!
Turning around.
Steve gazes at what has come out of Ronaldo McSanto's ass. Jordan Peterson. He is clawing to fully evacuate the hole he is halfway in. He coughs and wheezes all the meanwhile.
Oh, gee, Steve. Can you help me?
Why should I help you?
Set your lips in perfect order before you kiss me, you fool.
Thank you. Are there any studio execs in the audience, by the way? Because if we could end this show with a green light, oh man, I would feel great. That was wonderful. Thanks to everybody involved in that.
One more time for Melissa, Eric, Death Shepherd. It's a good one. I know who our next reader is. It's you.
It's me, my friend me.
Chris Browna is the inventor of this amazing show, and he's a really good reader. I think you're going to like him. And we get a musical supergroup to back him up. It's going to be absolutely everyone who played on the show already. So we're going to have Abdul, Death Shepherd, Michael. Pretty good time all around. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You guys ready for our last round? Awesome.
This is just going to be exactly like at the end of Saturday Night Live. And we're all going to be arm in arm in the saxophone. So listen, I can read one of... This is like a choose your own adventure, except you get one choice. I can read a story I know is good, that I've read a few times. It is a heart-rending tale of magic and transformation in seals. Or I can read something that may not be good, but may also be good, about Donald Trump going on a vision quest after a deer with giant balls. What are our thoughts? One? I'm going to go to my tiebreaker over here. Okay. Okay. This is called One Last Really Fun Day for Donald J. Trump. He woke up and stared at the ceiling. January 19th, he said to no one inside. Tomorrow's the big day. Sure, he was excited, but he also felt a sense of dread and panic, like the day before a visit to the dentist. He looked out the window. It looked sunny. He touched the pane of glass, expecting a biting winter chill, but no, it was warm. Warm like Shrinky Dinks fresh from the oven when they're at their best. What a nice day, he thought, and then, the woods, yeah! He jumped up from his bed. It was a normal bed. He'd wanted one of those race car beds like the kid in Silver Spoons had, but Melania said no. Every night when they'd sit down to watch Silver Spoons, he'd see that race car bed in the credits, and he could never stop himself from saying, "Aw, lucky." but it wasn't dignified, Melania had said. At least, that's what he thought she said. She never loved him enough to get rid of that Goonie accent. At least, that's how it felt. Downstairs, Melania had a bowl of cereal waiting for him and was waiting to pour in the milk until the last moment. He didn't like when it got all smooshy. "Good morning, darling," she said. "Are you ready for your golden grams to be milked now?" He burst out laughing. "You never get it." "You can't say it like that. You sound like you're gonna squeeze their boobies." "You're so dumb, Mom." "I am not being your mother, darling. I am your beautiful wife from Europe. Anyway, I don't have time for milk today. I'm gonna go goof off in the woods." He poured the entire bowl of dry cereal into his mouth. He shouted around the dry, caked grain that coated his tongue and teeth. "See ya! But darling, you must eat breaking fast." He showed her the bowl. "See? Empty." He put it upside down on her head, and it showered golden dust on her shoulders like gilt dandruff. It looked like a helmet. He saluted her and shouted, "Bye-bye, Colonel Stupid," before running out the door to the elevator. The woods behind Trump Tower stretched for miles. They weren't particularly beautiful, but they were familiar. They felt like his place. His special place, where he and his thoughts could goof off all day. Once there, though, he was at a loss. He didn't actually know what to do with himself. There was a time when he would have headed straight for his fort. It wasn't really a fort, of course. That was just what he called it. It was an abandoned water testing station, nothing but a cement platform about as big as a raft and a rusty standpipe in the middle of a copse of oaks. That single token of modern life in the middle of the wild woods always felt magical to him. He'd sit there for hours, pretending he was a scout in some distant outpost, the only thing standing between the free world and an invasion from the south. But he couldn't go to his fort anymore. There was nothing stopping him. It was just that a few months ago, he brought his friend Eddie Morrow there. Eddie looked at the place and said, "What is this hunk of junk?" Eddie started laughing. "Ha ha 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 ha! You dumb dork! This place sucks!" Donald yelled at him, fighting back tears. He told him to get out and that he wasn't welcome back. After Eddie left, Donald sat there for a few hours to prove that his special place was still meaningful to him, but it didn't work. He didn't want to admit it to himself, but the spell was broken. Whenever he went to the woods, he always steered a big, guilty arc around his fort, like he was avoiding a homeless person who might try to look at him or make him feel bad about her smell. The other thing he might have done was to do some jumps over the ditch. He was really good at doing jumps, but he lost his BMX. He had put it down on the ramp he built because he got thirsty, and he ran home to the store to get some Yoo-Hoo, and when he came back, the bike was gone. He didn't tell Melania. Whenever she'd start to veer too close to the topic, he'd change the subject by saying that whatever she was wearing made her look like a fat snake. It was never true, but it always worked. So he just kind of wandered around. At least it was sunny and warm, and he was in his woods. His woods. They weren't legally his, but he loved them more than anyone else. That's what made them his. Just like his dumb housekeepers are his too. He loved them in a way, certainly more than anyone else did. Otherwise they wouldn't have to be housekeepers. He was thinking about the time he put tacks in Jasmina's shoes and how loud she yelped and had to stop working. That was a riot. Oh man, I bet Eddie Morrow wouldn't call me a dork if he'd seen that, he thought. Just then, something caught his eye. A flash of tawny movement rustling the ferns. It was a deer, a buck with huge antlers. It stood in front of him, casting off quiet power like radio waves. He'd never seen anything so noble in his entire life. It stood there, aware of him, but not particularly interested. It looked up and to the left, just like the logo for that insurance company. The deer turned around slowly. It wasn't running from him. "You don't have anything to fear from me, boy," he said to it. The huge buck had turned completely around. Donald couldn't help but notice its balls. They were the biggest balls he had ever seen, swinging from the buck's haunches like a mauve punching bag. They practically boasted just by existing. Cool, he said. The buck began to walk slowly. Every few steps, it looked behind to Donald expectantly. You want me to follow you? Is that it? The buck didn't exactly respond, but something in its demeanor showed that it did want that. So Donald followed him. It was a long, hard walk. The deer didn't stick to the footpaths, but wandered through the thick brush and the prickers where Donald had once thrown Jasmina's bras and called her pickle tips after she put them on. That was a great Christmas. They had been through parts of the woods he'd never been to, parts of the woods he didn't even know existed. There were 100 moments where he wanted to quit, to turn around, to yell, "Where are you taking me?" at the beast. But something kept him from doing that. Something inside him that felt like him, the most him part of him that he could imagine, but also felt connected to something bigger. Other times, Donald almost completely lost sight of the buck. The giant purple scrotum, his only lodestar. Hours passed. He missed lunch. He was dirty, tired, and scratched. Good thing I'm wearing my zips, he thought. They are the fastest sneakers. Then, the huge deer stopped. It stood there, scratching the ground and breathing loud through its nostrils. "What is it, boy? Is this where I'm supposed to be?" The deer didn't respond, just kept standing and scratching the ground. Donald was confused. Then a glimmer of bright steel caught his eye. From deep in the reeds, he went over to it, wondering what it was. A part of him wondered if there was danger, a small and withered part. But the better part of him trusted the deer with the giant balls so deeply, so purely, that the voices of fear were silenced. He went to the reeds and parted them with his hands. Was it his imagination, or did they actually part themselves for him? And then he saw it. "My bike! Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you!" He ran over to the buck to hug it, but something about the beast's nobility changed his mind. It didn't seem proper. Instead, he knelt in front of the great heart and simply said, "Thank you." The beast stalked off into the forest. Once it was hidden from view, he expected to see the plants parting for him to make his way, but they didn't. Like the thing had dissolved into the earth itself, it was beyond his sight. Donald wrenched his bike free from the mud that held it. Someone had spray painted right over the crossbar, right on the logo. Instead of red line, it now said pussy line. "I hate you, Eddie Morrow," he said. "If I ever see you, I'm going to get the deer with the giant balls to stab you with his antlers. He's my best friend," he said, almost crying. "He's my best friend." He started the long walk back to Trump Tower, pushing his BMX in front of him. He was still mad about Eddie Morrow's prank, but getting less mad. He'd get Jorge to clean the bike up and repaint the logo. He was a little lost and a little preoccupied, and that's why he didn't take his customary wide swing around his fort. He actually walked right up to it without noticing. He almost tripped over it. He glared at it. He hated Eddie Morrow for making fun of it, and though he couldn't quite formulate the thought, he hated himself for letting Eddie Morrow's words ruin something he loved. That's when he had the idea. He could jump it. He could jump the fort, and that would prove to everyone that he could jump anything. Maybe, just maybe, that would restore some of the magic to the old broken concrete. He ran over to the drainage ditch and dragged the ramps he built over to the fort. He pulled his bikes 100 yards behind it and got ready. "I bet this is the last thing I get to jump before I'm president," he thought, and then he pedaled. His front wheel caught the edge of the ramp, and there he was, sailing over the fort. "Awesome!" he yelled at the peak of his arc through the air, just like he always did, and then he landed. and his foot slipped off the pedal, and he banged his wiener on the crossbar. Banged it hard. Dang it! He screamed. He sat down and swallowed feverishly, trying to distract his face from crying. Then he remembered. As a special treat before the inauguration, it was TV dinner night. Melania got his favorite, Salisbury steak with corn and a brownie. He had to get back in time to make sure that Louisa didn't ruin it. She always cooked it too long, until the brownie was all warm and dry. Golden grams? Those he wanted crispy. But a TV dinner brownie? That should be cold and gooey, like the mud he had freed his pussy-lined bike from. Attention to detail. He had it, they didn't. And even if they didn't have it, he had people for that. And that's why he was president and they were his servants. He half ran, half waddled back home, as fast as he could, pushing his defaced BMX alongside him and careful not to jostle his swollen, aching wiener. Thank you. That is our entire damn show. I would like to hear it for everybody that was on stage tonight. I don't have my list on me. It's in one of these multitude of pockets and pouches strewn about my body. Oh, there it is. So let's hear it for Aaron Bennett and Michael Rosenstein and Riley Knispel and Death Shepherd and Valley D and Abdul Sherzai and Talbot and Angela Sawyer and Melissa Fernandez and John Staley and his friend who was up here, Eric Aker, and thank you to my best friend, me. So thanks so much for coming. Check out apesnest.com. You can find podcasts next show, and we hope to be back in this space someday because I loved it. Thank you.